Hello, everyone, and welcome to Designers Lane podcast. I have another special guest with me today from Florida Tile, but I first want to be sure and thank my sponsors, Jenny Blanton. She's going to handle all of your real estate needs in Central North Carolina. So if you're building, buying, or selling in that central kind of Cary, Raleigh, Pinehurst, Fayetteville area, be sure and check her out, give her a call, shoot her a message. And then also if you're building a home in the probably more of the Cary, Southern Wake County area, Dogwood and Company is definitely someone to check out. Give them a call, see if it's something they can work with you, and hopefully they can help you out. So I'm going to jump to my wonderful guest with Florida Tile. It's Paula, and you're based out of the Morrisville location. Correct. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So for our listeners, that is, we're in Morrisville, North Carolina. It's not California.
Right.
And we are, as I go there, we're really close to the airport. Is that correct?
Very close.
So do you hear the planes and stuff fly overhead?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful.
Definitely.
That's great. I was just there the other day, I think about 3:30 in the morning. So I always think about you guys when I drive by early there.
I wasn't there then to see you flying over.
Hopefully not. No one was there that early. So I've been working with Florida Tile for many, many, many years. And I believe I've been working with you and even before you with Florida Tile. All chips on the table. I work with both locations in the Raleigh-Durham or Morrisville area. And then you also have a fabulous showroom that I've been working with for probably, over 12 or 13 years in Wilmington. And then what I love about you and about Florida Tile is some of my projects that I have down in Wilmington, I'm able to work with you up here in the Raleigh-Durham area, make those selections and kind of push those down to Wilmington. Let's talk about that for a second. Do you recommend that? I know I get a little bit of special favors, but can someone come into Florida Tile, say someone's building a house, right now we definitely have a building boom in Central North Carolina. Can someone come in and then work with you or work with the Florida Tile out of another state if they're building, say, in North Carolina or they're building their vacation home in another place?
Yeah, they can. We typically try to coordinate it through Wilmington, through the sales rep Jordan in Wilmington, so I can have to get all the particulars about the builder, the budgets and stuff. And we can accommodate that.
And then I'm assuming that there are very, very similar products that's there.
Yeah.
So if we come into the Raleigh showroom and look at a material there, that we'll still be able to get it for Wilmington.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's wonderful. And then again, North Carolina coasts are fabulous that a lot of people are moving into the area and they don't always have the timeline or the ability to fly down to Wilmington or fly to the specific place. But what's wonderful with Florida Tile is they're really large and they're broad and they can go to particular areas and then make those selections and then make them happen.
Yeah.
What is important for you for the buyer, say the homeowner, to bring to that meeting? So if they're coming with a designer or without a designer, what is really important for them to think ahead of time so therefore it's not cold or it's not just a hard start when they walk into the showroom with you?
Definitely, it's good if homeowners can have ideas when they come in of maybe the style they like, the sizing, colors, because when you come into the showroom, you're just like overwhelmed. There's so many options. So Pinterest, Houzz, those websites are good. Have your floor plans. We recommend having your countertops selected and cabinets. Other than that, and budget for sure.
Budget and allowance, investments, call it investment, is really important because you need to know is the budget for your master bath, is it $5 a square foot or is it $20 a square foot?
That's right.
And then I also will add something into there. We need to know, does that number include the labor to install it, and any other materials, because I learned a long time ago that if my allowance was $13 a square foot for a material, I was excited, and then to find out that $10 or $11 of that actually went to labor, so that left me with $2, $3, or $4 a square foot for materials. So now, and you said bring all of the materials you can. So your cabinets, I think, are really huge because, as we both know, white cabinets have a whole bunch of variations of white. They can have a little bit of blue. They can have a little bit of gray in them. Plans are huge. I love, I love and I hate. I have that weird relationship, that dichotomy between Pinterest and Houzz and all of the pictures, because sometimes we want 4 or 5 pictures and then we get 1,000. And then we have to decide, what am I supposed to be looking at? Is it the floor tile? Is it the backsplash? Is it the light fixtures? Can someone email them to you ahead of time, or would you rather bring them in an iPad and let's look at them at one time?
Oh, no. Anything ahead of time that you can do is always
super helpful.
Very, very helpful.
Can you give me an idea, what should someone allow for time? So if I'm coming in there with someone fresh and say we're doing a 5,000 square foot house, 4 or 5 bathrooms and a kitchen, how long is it going to take is the first question.
Okay.
And the second question is, should I freak out? And again, I already know the answer, that I'm going to have to make reselections or make things changes to everything or some of the items.
When you come in.
That's okay.
Forgot your first question.
So how long is it going to take when you come in the first go around?
Yeah. If you've got a house that you need 4 or 5 bathrooms, 3 bathrooms, I do 2 hours.
Okay.
I'll schedule a 2-hour appointment.
Okay.
Normally don't go over 2 hours. Sometimes we do.
Right.
They're out of towners and stuff. Because you just get tired. People
burn out.
Yeah, burn out. So I usually 2 hours usually works for most projects.
Let's stick with that. I agree. I love the 2-hour format, and I'm usually between an hour and a half and 2.5 hours. So 2 is a great compromise.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think people burn out. And if you do a little bit of legwork, homework on the front end of it, so both the homeowner has a general idea of what they want and what they need. You're not thinking for the very first time what I'm going to do. And that takes a lot of time because, again, you have a massive showroom, you have tons of selections, and I like to lay the cabinets out and I like to lay the material out, and you're going to know if things work. Obviously, you have an opinion, and that leads us actually to the next question. I always ask about delays. Some of the items that we're going to choose, I may absolutely love this particular tile, but you may come back and say, gosh, Eddie, this tile is taking 3, 4, 5, 6 months to come in. Or there's a chance that it's going to be discontinued. Right. What's your opinion of that? And then thoughts, should we keep that in our mind?
Yeah. Normally, it depends on how far out your project is. If it's something that you're coming in and you need within a month, and I know it's back ordered and it's from a third-party vendor, I'm going to push you away from that. But a lot of people are coming in when they're breaking ground on their houses. So it just depends on what kind of timeline you're working with. And
I love that you brought that up because things are definitely getting better. They're not where they were a couple of years ago. I like to make the selections in the very beginning of the project. And I will say that tile is one of the very first things that I like to choose picking out a project. And I'm one of the few that I do not bring my countertop samples with me because countertops have a really, really large pattern. And I think it's a lot easier to bring the tile samples with me to the granite yard than it is to put a 10 million pound slab on the top of my car and crush it and then drag it into the showroom. Now, with that said, if there are smaller pattern countertops, you can certainly bring those in. And I love the idea of the pictures and the Pinterest and the house because you can at least see them, whether or not that has a bigger pattern on the top or a smaller pattern. And then that leads us to what works well either on the floor, in the bathroom, or in the backsplash.
Right.
Now, we talked about, just mentioned bathrooms. I was in the showroom, again, a couple of days taking some pictures, of which we'll get to see. We're going to put them up on the screen in a few minutes.
Yeah.
I'm in love, just huge, with these large format tiles that we have right now.
Yes.
What sizes do they come in, and can you give us a little bit of pros and cons about the fabrication? I know that they were super expensive. They're becoming a little bit more cost effective today than they were a couple of years ago, but they're still not inexpensive. And labor is not the same on certain tiles. So first of all, what are the sizes of the larger format tiles?
Larger formats are 24 by 48.
Okay.
24 by 24. Those are the ones we're typically working with. And we do have a collection that has a wall tile that's like 14 by 39. But the ones you can use on walls and floors, 24 by 48 or...
And then for our listeners, we're talking about inches, not feet, and not
Correct.
centimeters for people that are in the metric system. That's okay. I love the larger formats, and I think that they're beautiful. And we're not only seeing them, and I've used a couple in showers, we're starting to see them on fireplaces. And you can, run them vertically, you can run them horizontally or landscape. One of the items that I'm not the biggest fan of is not having bullnose, have to use these Schluter strips. So on the larger format tile, I'm working on a project right now where we're considering that on the fireplace. So we're hopefully going to be somewhere around 2.5 feet wide and about 4 feet tall. But we don't have the edge details. We have to use the Schluter strip. So I'd like to explain to our listeners what is the difference between a Schluter strip and a bullnose. And we're going to have this up on the pictures that they can see it. But there is a definitive difference. And when the homeowners come to you or they're looking for tile, if they know that there is no way in Hades that I'm going to use a Schluter strip, how important is it that they let you know that up front?
It's very important because I need to put that information on their selection sheet. And when the tile guy measures, there's a lot of reasons for that. We love Schluters. We sell.
Yes, a ton of them. I think all of my tile installers love them, and they know that I'm not the biggest fan. And I have come around a little bit, almost like with brass lighting fixtures, that sometimes your hand's forced to be able to use them. But we'll see a picture coming up a little bit later that there are lots of options, and they're not as black and white as they were 5 or 6 years ago. There's tons of colors. And we're actually talking about there's just a metal edge detail that will happen on the tile, and it's a little bit better to look at the picture, and we'll explain that. Schluter strips, do you have them in stock? Is it something that takes as long to order, or can someone, or the tile installer vendor call you up today and say, oh my gosh, Paula, I need Schluter strip for this. I forgot about it. Can I pick it up tomorrow? Yeah.
First, I'd like to say Schluter is a brand name.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
It's the brand name that we sell. The L channel is the profile we use the most.
Okay.
Which Schluter calls a Jolly is their name for it.
Okay.
So our Schluter strips or L channels, we have a lot of finishes. We have like satin nickel, brushed nickel, white. We carry a lot of the ones that people use all the time, but we can order any other finish we don't have and get it in, I allow a couple weeks. It might come quicker.
Well, full disclosure, I picked some up in a day that have been basic and simple and then clean. And then I did not realize that Schluter is not the generic name for them. So what is that called again? Is it an L channel?
L channel.
L channel. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to try to impress you next time I come in the showroom and say, hey, we need an L channel, because I've certainly been calling it Schluter.
Like the Scotch tape, Kleenex, and people's Schluter has the biggest share of the market.
Definitely a great thing to keep in mind that's in there. Let's also talk about drawings. There is a question during construction or after construction about how the floor is going to lay, how the pattern is going to go up on the wall. And I find that it's better to do that on the very beginning when you're doing your tile selections. Now, I know you guys like to have it figured out at the first meeting. I like to say, I don't know, let me ponder over it a little bit. And then either you guys draw it or I draw it, or we both draw it, and then we finalize it, get it approved, and have everything ready for the installer. So there's no questions on the back end or during installation about, hey, how is this pattern supposed to be set or laid down on the floor? One thing I did want to bring up is, and we always have this debate on floor tiles, because now we're 24 by or 12 by 24 or even a little bit larger. I like to have them set either straight, where there's no all the joints are in line, or either 50% or a break joint offset. And I hear a lot about lippage when the tiles get much more than 12 by 12, which is something that we did in the past. Now they're more rectangular and or larger. Can you explain what the lippage is for the people who may not know, and the cause and the reason that we may not need to set them at 50% offset?
Yeah, when the rectangles are baked in kilns, they naturally are going to bow in the center a little bit. And this can happen even on a 4x16 or 4x12 size, and happen on smaller rectangles. And they bow in the center a little bit. So when you offset by like a third now is industry standard because of this, it helps to hide some of that that lippage. There's nothing wrong with the tile because it's just a natural thing that happens. In the
So
kiln.
even if we have a larger tile, say if it's more than 24 inches, say it's 36, because certainly in the West Coast, we're getting a little bit larger floor tiles. You need to go into the process knowing that you're not going to split the tile 50%.
No,
that you're going to have to do it in a third.
I never ever
recommend that.
No, third is like, it's pretty much just like that's the way it
Can we lay, if we did the larger tile, could we still lay it straight?
Oh, yeah.
And then that will take care of the lippage also. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to talk about before we jump to our photographs and pictures, which is my favorite part because we get to see really cool things, is drainage.
Yeah.
That has come just 1,000 miles in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So there are drains that fit in the center that you and I are very, very used to, that have been around, I think, since, dinosaurs roamed the earth. And then recently there are these linear drains that come in either 3, 4, 5 feet. And I want to discuss the differences and the pros and cons of those. Probably not so much the square drains because we know we've all seen them, or the round.
Yeah.
But can you elaborate a little bit on these linear drains?
Yeah, the linear drains would just be set up at maybe one end of the shower, the side, and you can slope the floor towards that instead of sloping it towards a center drain.
Right.
And it just is a cleaner look. You can maybe hide the drain. It's not like this big thing right in the center of your floor. It's very clean looking. Lots of people they're expensive. They're not inexpensive. Linear drains can easily cost you $500.
So about $500 for, would you say about $75 or $100 a linear foot? So if you had a 5-foot drain, it would be at least $500?
Yeah, 5 foot would be more than that.
Even more than that.
Yeah.
So what we could do is say, plan on maybe more than $100 a linear foot.
Yeah.
And I've also seen them where you can have a tile insert in the middle, or you can have the metal drain part, the grate, as we call it. One of the pushback that I've seen in social media and on some of the questions that I've had is hair and cleaning it out. Or is it any different than anything else? I know that you can pop some of that out. Is it just no different other than, I love the look. I think it's cool, especially when you push it up next to the wall. It almost disappears. You can have the tile on them. But there's been a couple of questions about, well, golly, how do I deal with hair or the dinosaur that my kid shoves down there? And I believe that you can pop that top off, can you not?
Yeah, and some of them have a catcher in
Right.
them. Yeah, you can take that grate generally off the top. We don't stock linear drains. I don't really sell a ton of them where we are, but previous place I worked did. So yeah, those grates usually pop off.
I think they're fabulous, and I think the reason we're not selling a ton of them right now is a lot of people, especially in the Southeast, don't know anything about them. We're always a few years behind of what the trends and the scales are. The Builder Show, for the last couple of years, we've been seeing them. When I travel to the West Coast, I feel like they've been around there for 20 years.
Selling them 7-8 years ago.
I think they're beautiful, and hopefully the cost will come down because they're not $20, $30 like a standard drain. They're more, but they look beautiful, and especially if you drop that tile in there. One quick other thing I want to add before we jump to the pictures are the niches that go in the wall, because we've, in the design industry and in the construction industry, it was something that you had to have just to store like your razor, your shaving cream, your shampoo. Now, instead of running them vertical, you can run them horizontal. They can be, 3 or 4 feet. They can be the whole width of your shower. There are in-stock items or items that you order. Can you give us the general sizes of those?
Yeah, if you're wanting one of the real long ones, those are generally site built. They have to frame those.
Okay.
Typically, we don't have any that long. Most of the forms, they're waterproof forms that are sold, are the width of the studs.
Okay.
So they stick them right between the studs and they just tile over them. If you want to turn those and make them a little bit longer, then they have to, frame differently
Sure.
for that. but the real super long ones generally are just built on site and it's customized.
Sure, but there are still some great options that you have for inserts because they can either have the shelf, they cannot have the shelf. You can stack, two on top of each other. So if you don't have the ability to, to customize that, you have that niche that falls in. But I also recommend to our listeners that if you know that you want a 4 or 5 foot wide or to be full width of the shower, that you need to let your contractor know or your project manager know ahead of time, because that does have to be framed differently.
It does, and that's why it works better on new construction, maybe a complete remodel, not just a shower redo,
just a redo.
Bath redo. And we do have them now too that have adjustable shelves on them, so you can decide how big the top part is compared to the bottom. So those are very nice.
That's a great idea. Now are they adjustable before the tile goes in?
Yeah, they set it where they want it, and then they tile it.
Great.
From there.
I wish that I would have done a picture of that, and I completely forgot about it, so we just talked about it. But that is such a really, really big, important part of the showers now, having those niches, and we don't forget about them, but they're important. And then the third thing that I completely forgot about, or let's talk real quickly about the benches, because you can have floating benches that we buy from you, and then there's benches that are built in. Does the floating bench have a specific name?
It depends on the kind of floating. They're triangle ones
that we go in a corner, right?
That are open underneath. We sell Better Bench brand. Right. We do have a floating bench seat. Most people are still framing
all the way to the floor, so it looks like a step when you come down in there. So. I think the benches are fantastic. I always discourage people from putting stuff on the bench. I tell people it's not a niche, it's a bench. It's not supposed to hold your shampoo. It's not supposed to hold all of your stuff. It's supposed to be a bench in there that you sit or you, I call it a shaving shelf, that people, put their leg up there if they need to shave. And then one of the other items that I've started doing is they look like pieces of pie that go in the corners, and you can do them a little bit lower.
And actually they're kind of made from the same stuff the niches are.
Right.
And they'll sit in the corner and they go all the way down to the floor.
Right.
And you tile them, and it looks like that was framed in
forever,
like a bench seat.
And it's absolutely
nice,
wonderful and fabulous. And the installer puts a little bit of a slope on it so it doesn't have the water. And I learned years and years ago down in Wilmington Projects that having that shelf down low is wonderful, somewhere to put your feet. And then now turning a little bit older, I certainly don't shave my legs or anything in the shower. I do my face, but drying off in the shower, it's nice to have somewhere to put and pull to prop a leg or to hold on to. So it's nice to be able to do that. I know. Welcome to turning past 40 and 50. I get it. Makes a ton of sense. So we're at a fun part right now where we're going to, our listeners and even our watchers, we have photographs. I was in your showroom the other day and then took way too many pictures. We've narrowed them down to about 10. I'm going to put them up. And I'm going to ask you some questions specifically about these tiles in the formats, and they'll be put up on the cast so people can see them. So we always want to encourage people to go to YouTube, to Designers Lane Podcast YouTube, and they can see the pictures. They can see both our beautiful faces, you and I, but they'll also be able to see these photographs and pictures. Now, the first one that we have it's obviously a display. It's the smaller tiles. It's the graphic patterns, which I think are fabulous and wonderful. Now, first of all, are these the sizes? And if they are the sizes, are they like 6x6 or 8x8 that they come in?
And first, I'll say this is a beautiful display. This is Soho Studio.
Soho Studio, wonderful. Props to Soho.
All their products. Most of these, they're 8x8s. 9x9, depending on which pattern it is. Hugely popular. We just keep getting more and more.
I absolutely love it. And a couple things, I've used Soho and I love them before. You've suggested them multiple times. They have one great quality of product. With these pattern tiles and graphic tiles, you typically need 4 of them to make the pattern. And I also think that and feel strongly that these work better in a space that's probably at least 6 feet or 7 feet square or wider, because if you have a smaller feet and you're not able to see the pattern, it doesn't doesn't necessarily play really well. And I'm a fan of the floors have a texture on them, and definitely a pattern that you may want to be a little bit simpler on your countertops.
Yeah.
You may want to be a little bit simpler on your backsplash and let the floor do the talking and take all of the credit. But these are stunning and beautiful. Now, would you say it's fair to say let's allow for, a month for these to come in?
3 weeks. As long as they have it in stock, which we can check before you buy it. I can check their inventory. 2 to 3 weeks.
Wonderful. And then we spoke briefly before the podcast that these do not come typically in multiple colors. So
right.
if I pull one of these and it's blue, denim blue, it's not going to come in orange or pink or whatever. It's what's there is what you get.
Typically, yeah. Typically. And one of the nice things about Soho, the back of their boards will show an image of that particular pattern, but it shows the other patterns in that collection too. So,
fabulous. I love it. I've used it multiple times, and I will say that it's been very, very consistent. The sample that I've taken and then used to what has come in, it's been very good and looked beautiful. So fabulous slide. Our next slide is going to be another display. This shows us samples. Are these the larger tiles, and are they still? Yeah. These look like the samples are maybe 6x6, 8x8, but they do come in larger.
Those are they're just cut down to go on that board. Most of these are 12x24. Some are probably 24x48 sizes, just cut down to show you.
I love them, and I know that I've used the very front. That's the blues and the greens. It's the linear. Again, I always encourage people, if you have a stronger, busier, heavy texture tile, to just know that it's probably going to work a little bit better to not have as busy countertop in there. Yeah. And that is okay. That is absolutely okay. And it's probably nice to know when they come visit you what's important. Is it going to be the floor, or is it going to be the countertop?
Right.
So it doesn't mix. But again, love the displays. I think I probably have a dozen of these in my garage, in my studio. So I have them. Absolutely beautiful. So our next slide that we have is going to show another display. And if I remember correctly, these are definitely a higher price point. Yeah. Are these marbles and natural stones?
Yeah. The ones there are all marbles. I think that's onyx and marble on the far left. And some have metals mixed in. So yeah, water jet cut, a lot of them. So
I love the idea of mixing metals and different materials and finishes in. On a retail side, would you think that these are the lowest price point, $30-$40 a square foot, or are they even more?
Oh yeah, they're more than that. Some are probably $100.
Okay.
Or so.
So guys, we wanted to, if you love this finish, it's I would budget at least for $100 a square foot, plus you have your labor. This is just for the materials, and you probably even have a little bit of freight charges that are going to be incurred with it. So beautiful, definitely planning. This is something that you don't willy-nilly pick out, because it's going to cost, you're going to spend your budget that's on there. But again, something you don't have to do everywhere, but it looks beautiful. Yeah. I've always loved that display, and then love those items that are there.
And those are Soho. Again.
Those are Soho again. Yeah, Soho is knocking it out of the park. Our next slide is, again, one of my favorites. This is showing the larger format. And what do you call this pattern? I always booger it up a little bit.
Well, it's the Precious collection. This is the Calicata.
Calicata, there we go. So, and then what's cool with this is it shows the different sizes. And then again, for the people that are not able to watch it, we have, what's the smallest size?
Okay, that's a 24x24. That's
2 foot by 2 foot.
2 foot by 2 foot. The two on the end are actually just wall tiles. That's a 14x27 and a 14x39. In this collection, those are only walls. If you wanted large format floor, 24x24, 24x48.
You can still get it.
Yeah. So the two on the end are just wall tile.
I love the larger, either for a shower or either a fireplace. I think is amazing. This is the one that you would have to use that L channel or Schluter strip on the side. It does not have a rounded bullnose. I think it's amazing and beautiful, and I've used this a couple times and actually mixed some other tile with it, and it's stunning.
Now,
it's really stunning.
It does have bullnose, regular. All of our products have a traditional bullnose made. We just don't use it that much.
And when I was in the showroom the other day, I can't remember if it was this one or if it was something similar, that they have the price has come down dramatically, and it's much more affordable.
Yeah, the 24x48,
than it was years ago, which I think people are afraid of that. They think it's going to cost them $25.
The labor might run a little more.
little bit more,
yeah, but
a little bit more by a
products-
couple dollars, but it's not
Yeah.
$30 a square foot anymore to put up this product.
No.
So beautiful, beautiful. I think that's stunning when you do that on the walls and you do more of a gray floor or a smaller pattern herringbone. I think it's amazing. And then I also want to tell our listeners, don't be afraid of the grout joints that go in between. You don't have to do white. You can pick up a
no.
color and I
Yeah.
think be beautiful
White
with
is
that.
a nightmare.
It is. So Drago, what's our next slide? Same thing here, larger format. And then I'm not going to butcher that name. How do you pronounce that?
Well,
Okay, we don't want you to butcher it either. So what I
one
liked
of our
about
sister companies.
it is what I like about this is again there are, and I only wanted to show that there's different larger products that you have and that's available out there in the market. That is the larger format. That
Yeah.
you don't have to do this particular tile. There's other ones, but to show that it's just not that statuary or Calcutta look
yeah.
that you can put it and is
Yeah.
amazing. And then can this either this or something similar you do both on the floor and the walls, or
Yeah.
do you recommend just the walls?
No, I do it both places.
I think it's fabulous, and again, I can't stress enough and encourage people enough to mix tiles up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just that one, that very first one has some texture, tons of abilities, and to make it, and even to the far left, if you're looking at it, it's some graphics. But I did want to focus on that larger tile that has some texture. I think it's beautiful, and I've used a smaller scale of that on a project down at the coast.
This terrazzo looks a real.
Terrazzo is
hot right
wonderful, and
now.
terrazzo has been around for a long, long
Yeah, it
time.
sure has.
It has been around forever. This shows, I just wanted to show part of the display that we had. I'm a big fan of smaller tiles on the backsplash and areas for your wet bar, your kitchen, or your butler's pantry. You certainly don't have to do that. It works for me for scale and format. Anything that we should take away from this that you see and notice? Again, these are loose samples, so you can pull them out, lay them on your table.
Yeah, you can just pull them out, look at them. This is all Soho Studio again. Just a lot of different patterns, marbles, porcelains. I will say some of the products up here, you have to be careful, and if they're really molded and stand up high, they present problems on backsplashes. So you have to kind of watch something.
That is a super great thing to bring up in the top left corner, and it's probably tough to see in this, and I don't think I have a picture of it. I used one of those tiles that have really strong texture.
Yeah.
And you are exactly right. We actually put the electrical up under the cabinet because you don't want to disturb the back, and ultimately I think it was impossible to be able to do that. It's just,
flat.
it has, it's not able to lay flat, and it has a texture to it. So again, we want people to think about, if you love this and you're someone that's got 30 things, and I'll use the word things lightly, on your countertop that plug into the wall, that this may not be the tile for you, but it is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I just had a situation. It was new construction, so it was good, and she picked one of those products, and they had to switch and put the outlets under the cabinet.
And I think there's nothing wrong with that. But again, for all of the listeners, we want them to know it's better to know and let your contractor know that on the front end. Because if you have them on the back wall and then to change them up to the top, it's a little bit more of a headache. It can be done, but it's certainly nice to know that coming in.
And that's part of our jobs too, to ask those questions if we're selling that product.
Right. That's a great point. That's a great point. That's a lovely point. So our next slide is this wonderful wood plank looking tile. I think that this has come to the market, especially for Florida, down in the areas or even the coast where people like that wood look, but they don't have the ability because of the water. I'm a naturalist fan. I'm the first one to say that if you want wood, do wood. But there's certain areas that you're not able to do it, and these look magnificent. These are these porcelain or ceramic?
Oh no, they're porcelain. They're porcelain. We don't have any ceramics.
Got you. Really. And then these are printed. Is that correct?
They're like ink jetted.
Okay.
There's a process. Yeah.
Got you.
That to get the look on there, and we sell tons. Porches. You don't have to be interior for these.
What a great idea to put them on the porch.
Lots of porches in it.
What are the widths that these come in?
Most of them are 8 by 36.
Okay.
Just so you get kind of a
random.
But we do have some that are 6 by 24.
Okay.
Don't use as many of those unless it's maybe a bathroom where you don't have a ton of space.
Sure.
But most folks like the longer ones because it looks more like a real
I think that the long ones are fabulous. What would you say the longest length that you could get?
36.
Okay, so maybe 4 feet would be a top.
We might have a 48 inch.
So we want to let the listeners know that you're not going to get something that's 8 feet long.
No. Because,
Okay.
I mean, you wouldn't have a
Right.
piece of wood. Can you imagine? That
I
thing
understand.
would be like,
I understand. I
That's
understand.
funny.
1,000%. So yeah. So just want everyone to know that you're probably going to be 3 or 4 foot. It's going to be your longest, and you still have the smaller ones, and you mix them in, and that gives a little bit of the flavor and the feel of the hardwoods. And again, I love these. These represent the graphics, and we talked about them a little earlier. It's really important to make sure that you have 4 of them to at least make the pattern, and you need a lot more than 4 to be able to pull it off. And I don't remember the top left one. There's multiple colors in there, the orange and blue and light blue. You can have so much fun with that.
That's very fun.
I think it's lovely. And then these can go both on the floor and the walls.
Correct.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Wonderful. And these are our last slide that I wanted to show, and you've brought these to my attention, how far, I call these contractor pricing or builder grade, and I think builder grade has such a negative connotation to it. These are stunning and beautiful, and they are a great price point. They have lots of texture to them. And what sizes do these come in?
These actually come in a lot. Most of these come in a 24 by 48. Now this is one. It's not a Florida Tile product. We get it from a vendor, but we run trucks once a week to them, and their products are made in tons of sizes. It's really nice.
I have used these and seen these. They are amazing. And when you had those delivered and then put in the showroom a little while back, was stunned and was shocked how aggressively they're priced. And
great
they
pricing.
are great price point and beautiful. And some of them come in different color palettes. You can see on the bottom right, that terrazzo, there's a medium tone, darker tone, and a lighter tone, and mix it up and encourage people step out of the box a little bit and then play with it. So Paula, looking at the clock, it's 34 minutes.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
It's
That's
been
amazing.
fun.
It has been fun. I want to thank you so much and thank Florida Tile. I think you guys are fabulous. Love you. You just celebrated a birthday a few months ago. Is your orchid, I know it's not flowering now. Is it still alive? Uh-oh. Well, you and a couple of other people have orchids too. They have a little struggling.
A long time though.
It's wonderful. I'm happy that it's there, and so we love Florida Tile. Now, can you remember? And we put up the let's give the websites for the people that we've talked about.
So Florida Tile's www.floridatile.com.
Okay.
The Soho Studio is going to be www.sohostudiocorp.com, and the fun one, Schluter, I'll spell that for you, is www.schluter, which is SCHLUTER.com.
That's amazing. We want to tell all of our listeners to check you guys out, give you a call, follow up anywhere in Florida Tile, look at their beautiful product, and remember the time frame that, you're not going to come in there and it's not Lowe's or Home Depot and grab something and walk out the door with it. You want really strong design that's in there. And again, beautiful product, and we can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Have a great day, and we'll see you again real soon.
Thank you, Eddie.
You bet. You bet. What a wonderful time with our lovely guest, Paula with Florida Tile. Y'all be sure and check them out. Again, I can't thank them enough for showing up. My terrific 3 right before I end this podcast. First one, we're going to keep the tile theme since that was our episode today. Tile layouts, don't forget to understand them. Look at them, either have your designer or have the tile vendor, the person you're buying the tile from, lay that out. You're also going to have your vendor walkthrough. We've talked about in previous podcasts to have a really good understanding. Is it going to, run parallel with the vanity? Is it going to run parallel with the door coming in? And also with your shower, how high is it going to go? Is it going to go just above where the shower head comes out of the wall, or are you going to run it all the way to the ceiling? Really, really, really important to understand those layouts and have them drawn out, no questions. So when you have that meeting, they're ready to order them correctly, not have any shortages or anything over. So make sure that you understand those layouts, not only on the floor, but also your shower. Number two, briefly talked about drains. Want to have a decision at the very beginning of the process, especially if you have concrete slab floors. In the beginning part of the process, the plumber actually marks the hole where that drain's going to go. And if you have a linear drain, which I love, that's typically not going to go in the same place that a square drain that in the center of your floor is going to go up next to the wall. Whether it's going to go the front wall or the side wall is a big deal. And then if that needs to be noted pre-construction, when they pour the concrete on the ground floor or the basement level, they need to know that. So make sure you have a really good understanding. And then don't forget that those linear drains are far more expensive than a regular square drain. I'd probably say maybe budget $125, $135 a lineal foot, up to 4 feet. If it's more than 4 feet, it could be $200 or $300 a square foot or a linear foot, easy. Make sure that you budget and make sure you plan accordingly for that. Also, have a really good understanding of the grout. Your color, it doesn't have to be white anymore. You can do a color. You can contrast that grout joint with the tile. And then there's also, I believe that there's an epoxy grout that they can use that's a little bit better, a little bit more durable today than it was years ago. But that has to be put on relatively quickly, and it's something you don't want to change your mind. But keep in mind that grout today lasts easier to clean than it is a long time ago. And I would also the one thing discourage you is don't use bleach or Clorox when you're cleaning your grout. Just use soapy water. You can even maybe there's even a little bit of a vinegar base that you can put in there, but you don't want to bleach it. You don't want to take the color out. Those are wonderful, terrific tips that consider on your next project, on your remodel or your new construction. Have your conversation with your general contractor and with your designer. Make sure everyone has a really good understanding. Want to thank two sponsors today, Jenny Blanton. She's going to handle all of your real estate needs in the central North Carolina, Cary, Pinehurst, Fayetteville area. If you are buying or selling, looking to do a move, give her a call. She can definitely help you out. And also Dogwood and Company, if you're in the Wake County, southern Wake County, North Carolina area, looking to build, looking to do a remodel, a larger scale remodel, give him a call, see if it's something he can help you out. And talking about projects, know that things take time. If you want to be in your new home or have your project completed, remodel completed, know that it could take 12 to 18 months right now just for construction of your home. That doesn't include the architect, that doesn't include any of the planning. Please take that into consideration. Thanks, everybody, for watching me. I'm Eddie Ryder. This is Designers Lane Podcast. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my podcast. We're on different platforms. We're also on YouTube, but that subscription, getting the count definitely helps, and you'll get our new podcasts that come out. You'll get notified and know when they happen. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk with you soon.